Hello everyone, I am Abhishek Keshravani, Assistant Professor ABES Engineering College. In today's lecture, we are going to learn about the static keyword in Java. So basically, the static keyword in Java is mainly used for the memory management, and it particularly used for so many things. Means you can use the static keyword for a particular variable also. You can use for the method. You can use static blocks also. You can have a nested classes also. So there are so many different ways by which you can use this particular static keyword. So basically, the static keyword belong to the class rather than the instance of the class. So we will explain these things with the help of a practical implementation also. So the static keyword is a non-access modifier in Java that is applicable for the blocks, for the variables, for the methods, for the classes. Okay. So to create a static member, we have a block variable, we have a method, we have nested classes. So let's see how this static keyword help for declaration of the block, for declaration of the variables, for declaration of the methods, and for declaration of the classes. So here we can see here that particular characteristics of the static keyword. The first one is the shared memory allocation. Means when you have a static variable, the methods are allocated the memory space only once during the execution of the program. Suppose we have a particular variable, okay, and that particular variable is declared by a particular object 1. Means we have obj1, and that particular obj1 object allocated the memory space. So when you create new object 2, the same particular variable will be used. Means this particular space is shared by the particular variable. Means you have only one allocation for a particular static variable. And this memory space is shared among all instances of the classes, which makes the static member useful for maintaining the global state of the shared function. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. This is the main method containing class myMain, and inside this we will create object. Okay, so first we will create one more class. Suppose we'll create a new class here, and name of the class is student. So now we have this student class, and inside this student class, suppose I declare static variable ID, and here we have public void display, and inside this display we will print this ID, and after printing it, what we will do, we will increment the ID. Suppose I declare this ID or initialize this ID with 3. Okay. Can also declare this method as a static. So what we happen here, what we have done here, we have created a class student, and inside this we have declared a static member, and we have just printed it, and then after printing we will increment the value by +1. Okay. Now there are two things what we have done here. We have declared the method as static, as well as we have created the ID, which is also static. So let's see what are the changes and what is the things we will here done. So first here, when we declare any method as static, so we can call that particular method without creating the object. Okay. So here you can see I have not created the object, just directly I have called this method with the help of the class name. Okay. So suppose if I execute this particular, so you can see here the ID is printed here 0. Okay. But now suppose if you want to create object, can we create it? Let's see. Suppose we have created one object st1 new student, and after creating this student one object, I will call the display method. Yes, you can also do this. Now what happens if I create another object of this student class and call the, so here this time we have created st2. Let's guess what is the output. So if this will print 0, so here may be also guessing that this will also print 0. Let's see. But not exactly guess. Here you have getting the ID 1. Why this happens? Because here I have declared this static variable and initialized with 0. So what happened? When you call this, when you create this particular student one object and call the display method, so what happens? The memory is allocated only 1 because this is static variable. Here the ID is printed, and what happened? It has incremented by 1. And since there is only one copy of this particular ID is created, so when I have created here another object of a student class, so when I call the display method, the last value here that it is printed is the ID is 1. So what happens when you call this method here? It will print ID as what? Sorry, it will print 0. And then when you increment this, so what happened? Here the value 0 after printing will increment to the 1. And when you call the display method of the st2 object, so first it will print 1 and then increment the value 2. So if you create another object and then again call the display method, it will print the value 2, and then what happens? It will increment the value by 3. So why this is happening? Because there is single copy of that particular static variable is created. Okay. Now next is accessible without object instantiation. So you can see here when we have created the static member, okay, you can access without the need to create an instance of the class. Means whether it is method or whether it is a particular member, you can directly access without creating the object. And this makes it useful for providing utility function and constant that can be used across the entire program. We can also do this. Means the ID we have declared, we can directly print it without creating the object. You can associate it with the class, not objects. Means static members are associated with the class, not the individual object. We have already seen in the example that when we have declared the ID, okay, so it is associated with the class, because when we are creating a new object, the last value that has changed will be reflected in the next object. So that means this is also the class variable also. Okay. That means the changes to a static member are reflected in all the instances of the class, and that you can access the static member using the class name rather than an object. We have already seen that the ID value that we have already changed in the previous object will be reflected in the next object, next new object we are creating. Okay. You cannot access non-static members means when you have the static methods and variables, you cannot access non-static members of a class as they are not associated with any particular instance. Okay. So next we have a static block. So what is static block? So if you need to do the computation in order to initialize your static variables, you can declare the static block. And that gets executed exactly once when a class is first loaded. Let's see how this actually works. So here we have one example. I will explain. So here you can see that first we have declared the static variable A and initialize with the variable 10. This particular static variable A has value 10. And another variable B, I have just declared it. No initialization have been done. Now next, what we have done here is we have declared a static block. This static block is declared before the main method. Here you can see this is the main method. Okay. And we have declared a static block before the main method. Okay. And here what we have done is here we have suppose change the value of A multiplied by 20. Okay. Now here we have the value of A as 10, and when you multiply by 20 and it's stored in the value B. So if this particular block executed, so what will happen when you print the value of A and B? As I have not changed the value of A, but we have changed or initialized the value of B inside the static block. So if I print here in the main method, what will happen? The change value will be reflected here. And why it is reflected here? Because this static block executed before the main method. As you can see the sequence, when you run this program, the first static block will be executed here, and then after the execution of the static block, this particular main method will execute here. Okay. So let's see the output here. So here you can see the static block initialized, and here the value of A is 10, and next the value of B is 200. Here you can see this is the output. Why are this output you are getting? Because here the first static block is executed. We will also get the message here, static block initialized. After that, the value of B is changed, and then what happened? The main method is executed here. Then we'll print the value of A. Then we'll print the value of B. Okay. So this is the concept of the static block. Next, static variable we have already discussed. Okay. Means when you declare any variable as static, then a single copy of the variable is created and it will be shared among all the objects at the class level. So basically, static variable you can compare with the global variables, or you can see that there is only single instance of the class that will share among the all the objects. Okay. What happens if you declare any method as static? So you can see when you declare any method as static, you don't have to create the object of that particular class for calling the method. You can directly call the class with the class dot method name. We have already done this example. Let's see it. Here you can see that I have declared this method as static. Okay. Here we have declared method as static. So what changes we will see here? So you see, I have just written name of the class. Then I can directly access this display method. Okay. So here when execute, you can see I will call the display method without creating the object. Okay. This is the advantage when you declare any method as static. So here I have declared the display method as static. Next, we have the Static method we have already discussed. Static classes. So when you declaring a class as a static, but one thing you have to keep here, that we cannot declare a top level class with a static modifier. You cannot, suppose we have a class and we have an outer class, or we have a inner class, then you cannot declare the outer class as static. You can declare the inner class as static. Okay. Let's see the concept of nested class and how you can apply the nested class as static. So let's see here, we have a simple example here. Here we first declare a class name as outer. Simple, we have declared the public class outer. And inside this, we have a static string, that is, name of the static string is, suppose I have written str. Okay. And here I want to print this string. Okay. But what will happen? I have declared another class named as inner, and this time I have declared this inner class as static here. You can see here we have this inner class as static, and here we have the method as public, which is named as print message, and inside this we have just print the string ABES engineering for it, and this particular string is private. So how we can create the object of this particular class so that we can access this method? Let's see how we can do this. So here we first remove all this. We don't need this all. Okay. And now first we have to create the object. So how we can do this? First we have to write the outer class, then inner class. And suppose I will write obj is equals to new outer dot inner. Okay, now we have created this object. Okay, we have to remove this. Okay, now we are not getting error. Now I have to call the method obj dot print message. Now you can see how we can create the object of the nested inner class and call this print message. So we have basically two methods. The first one is the outer class, and inside this we have declared the static inner class. And here in the main method containing class, first I have created the object, and now I'm going to access this particular method. Just see what is the output. So here we are getting the string ABES engineering college, what we have declared inside the nested class, and here we have declared the nested class as static. You cannot declare the outer class as static. Okay, this is a restriction here. You cannot declare here static. So this is all about the static class declaration. So this is all about how we can declare the static variable, we can declare static method, we can declare the static class, we can have a static block. Okay. Thank you for watching this video. In the next video, we are going to explore the concept of final keyword, and let's see the next video.